invariants preserved by mutation. So generally speaking, what I'm interested in is how geometrical invariants, like say the volume of Hilbert manifolds, behave under topological operations like say cut and paste. And yeah, I want to discuss this in some special situations, and actually in most of my talk I will discuss some elementary example, namely how parabolic volume changes under mutation, and then at the end of my talk I will describe how these arguments can be generalized in several directions. So, okay, to start with something concrete, let's start with some special cut and paste operation from knot theory, which is mutation of knots. Motion to convey. So, okay, let's look at some knot. And okay, so what Conway proposed was to cut knots into tangles. So he takes a sphere which intersects the knot diagram in 4 points, and so the inside, the part of the knot which is inside, which may of course be complicated, this is called a tangle. So consider 2 sphere which intersects the knot K in four points, and okay, let's assume that the points are somehow symmetrically with respect to the axis. So, and okay, this part of the knot which is inside, this is called a tangle, and okay, somehow Conway's idea was to describe knots by decomposing them into tangles, but what I will consider here is mutation, which is the following operation. One takes such a tangle and one just reflects it either at the vertical axis or at the horizontal axis, or I suppose reflections one after the other. So, and so one reflects the tangle in one of 3 possible ways, and then one gets a mu knot, which is called the mutant, or one of the mutants of the Forer knots. So, okay, as a topologist, I prefer to describe this not in terms of knot diagrams, but in terms of the complements of the knots. So, in terms of the knot complements, what one does is, if say the first knot was P1, then we take this complement and we cut it along 4-function sphere. So I mean this Conway sphere, which is on the left, intersects the complement in a 4-function sphere. So somehow 4-function sphere looks like this. And then for this 4.4, you have three possibilities to rotate this by 180 degrees, either like this, or horizontally, or the composition of both. And so you have cut along the sphere, and then you glue back by some rotation by 180 degrees. And then you get the complement of this mutant knot. Okay, so this knots obtained by rotation are usually different from the original knots, but yeah, they are really hard to distinguish. Many invariants coincide. Jones polynomial, Alexander polynomial, general the home-flight polynomial of mutations is always the same. The Collar-Jones polynomial is the same. So in some sense, it would be more interesting to find, from the point of view of knot theory, it would be more interesting to find invariants which distinguish mutations. Some invariants which distinguish mutations are, for example, the knot genus or the Goranov homology. So, but okay, what I'm interested in is not knot theory, but is how geometric invariants behave with respect to cut and paste. And so mutation is somehow an example there where one can nicely describe the change of many geometric invariants, but that is yet the fact that they did not change. And so this is what I will talk about in most of my talk. So, okay, what do I mean by geometric invariants? So, of course, most knots are hyperbolic. So, complement is some hyperbolic three-manifold, and so up to isometry, this hyperbolic metric is unique by Moscow rigidity. And so this means that geometrically defined invariants are topological invariants. So one can take, for example, the volume of the hyperbolic metric and gets a topological invariant. And then one can ask for the behavior under topological operations like, say, cut and paste. So, and somehow one old theorem in this regard is Uhrmann's theorem from the 80s. Which says that hyperbolic volume is exact notation. So which means if you have some parabolic manifold, some incompressible surface, and not just any surface, but for just here. And tau is the manifold obtained from M by cutting along sigma and gluing via 180-degree rotation. Then this new manifold is hyperbolic and has the same volume as the original one. And okay, I mean actually Ullmann's theorem is more general than this. He has more examples with the same behavior, and I mean somehow what he uses, what his examples have in common and what he uses for the proof is somehow the following property. So more generally, this equality of volume holds by Ullmann. If you have two manifolds, one is obtained from the other by cutting along a surface and regluing by some tau, and if this tau what he needs for this proof is that sigma is an incompressible surface, and so tau should have finite order, and the crucial condition which is satisfied in all these examples is that that somehow this tau can be realized by conjugation with some element in SL. You see. I have here, if I have a parabolic manifold, then of course this gamma is a subgroup of SL2Z. So I mean, if you're talking about parabolic about oriented manifolds, then you can really assume that gamma is a subgroup of SL2Z. And so this this fundamental group of the surface is then a subgroup of gamma, and the assumption that we make is that this action of tau and fundamental group of sigma is realized by conjugation with some element of SL2Z. And under these assumptions one gets Ullmann's theorem. For example, one case where this assumption is always satisfied is if sigma is a genus 2 surface, and again tau is what one calls the hyperelliptic involution. This is just a complicated word for rotating by 180-degree I mean, assuming, so to say, that the surface is symmetric and you rotate by 180 degrees, then this is called dialectic evolution. And in this case, if you consider this torque, then regardless how the surface sits in the extreme manifold, one can show that always this assumption is satisfied. And this is what Roman shows. Okay, and how did Huerman prove this theorem? I mean, what he proved was essentially that the surface sigma can be realized by some minimal surface, and then he proved some uniqueness results for minimal surfaces, which in particular imply that this torque can be realized by a map which is an isometry in a neighborhood of the minimal surface, and so then this means that somehow you can get the new hyperbolic metric on this glued manifold just by taking the old hyperbolic metric and then using this isometry in this neighborhood of sigma to glue to get a new metric, and then it's of course obvious that the volume increases. Okay, so for this proof you had to prove several results about minimal surfaces, about resistance and uniqueness. So it's not so clear how this generalizes to higher dimensions. So one would have to know analogous results in higher dimensions if one wants to generalize this to other situations. So what I will do in most of my talk now is to give a topological proof for Huerman's theorem, which in fact is quite easy in some sense, but which has the advantage that then one can generalize it in several directions. One can generalize it to higher dimensions, and one can also generalize it to some other invariants, like for example the volume of flux structures, which I'm going to explain them. Okay, what I want to start with then, what I will spend some time on, is somehow a topological proof of Huerman's theorem in the easiest case. It is in the case of closed hyperbolic extreme manifolds, and then afterwards I will say how this generalizes to a KAIST case, to high dimensional case, local symmetric spaces, other invariants, and so okay. Closed case, and so for simplicity let's assume that we have a closed variant. So in fact, okay, that I assume now M closed will make many things simpler, but the other assumption is in fact, not really making things simpler. So literally the same argument works not only for higher extreme manifolds, but in general for locally symmetric spaces, as long as they're closed at least. But for simplicity, let's stick to higher extreme manifolds. Okay, I want to give some topological argument for the equality of volumes. So I have somehow to describe the volume topologically. Okay, there is some classical approach to describing volume by topology to Gromov, but this is not what I will use. So Gromov's approach was the simplicial volume, which in particular gives the parabolic volume for parabolic manifolds. So this simplicial volume, somehow it's difficult to describe how it behaves with respect to cut and paste. I mean, Gromov had proved that one can cut and paste along submanifolds with a amenable fundamental group, and then the simplicial volume does not change. But here, the cases we are interested in, say, for example, for punctured spheres or genus T surfaces, they have not amenable fundamental groups. So somehow this theory of simplicial volume does not apply. I mean, and it's hard to say for the simplicial volume to get some arguments to describe how it behaves under cut and paste along non-amenable surfaces. So I will discuss another topological approach to hyperbolic volume, which already shows up in some work, for example, of Neumann and also of Dupont and Shah. So let's consider a closed string manifold, hyperbolic. Motion of hyperbolic space by some discrete group. And okay, so we denote by J the inclusion into SLC. I mean, usually the isometric group of hyperbolic space is P SN to Z, but in the oriented case you can assume that this lifts to SN to Z. And as one knows, such hyperbolic manifolds are spherical, so they are equivalent to the gamma, to the classifying space of the group gamma, and you can look corresponding map classifying spaces. So, and consider it a manual class in this topology. Okay, and then one consider its image in the homology of BG, which is of course something topologically defined, and we claim that this determines the volume. So we want to show this topological object, this homology class in the homology of B SI to C, determines the volume. So which will then mean if we have this, then if we want to prove Rohan's theorem, then we just have to prove that the corresponding homology classes for the two manifolds are the same, which actually can be proven by a short topological argument. So, but okay, let's first show why this is true, that this homology class determines the volume. okay, maybe first I should say, as probably everybody knows, this so this homology of groups and homology, they are computed. They can be computed from the bar resolution. So the bar resolution is a certain chain complex, so it's at the nth position, it's just so it's generated by the n tuples of, it's formally generated by the n tuples of elements in the group. And okay, there is a certain boundary operator. Okay, I'm not writing down this, but so you have some complex which is generated by the n tuples elements of the group. You have a certain boundary operator, and this complex then, by definition, is the group homology, or if you take the dual, gives you the group homology. And okay, we want to prove that a certain element determines the volume, and this will be proven by showing that a certain homology class evaluated on this homology class gives the volume, and the homology class will be the volume class. So let's consider the volume co-cycle. So okay, how is this defined? Okay, so we have our manifold M. Let's make a two-dimensional picture for simplicity. So, and we have the universal cover. And we have covering map 5. And okay, so let us fix some point here. X and image here, X, and now, okay, okay, first the definition of the volume co-cycle, this is the following. So a co-cycle has to map three group elements to some real number, so we define, so this by saying that this will be the volume of the image of the simplex with vertices x equal g1, x equal g2, x equal. So, okay, so what do? We consider the images here under some elements, and we take the constant and okay, and we project this down and compute the volume. So okay, so okay, a priori this depends on the choice of the point, but one can show that the homology class does not depend. So one gets a well-defined homology class. And okay, and the claim that I want to prove is that applying this homology class to our former homology class here gives the volume of M. Okay, so why is this true? Okay, I mean, a priori this was defined on B gamma. Of course, we can on BG. Of course, we can restrict it to B gamma. So let us consider the inclusion. So on the other hand, we have, of course, the singular chain complex. So, and now the point is that this complex here can be identified with some subcomplex of the singular chain complex. So, let us consider the complex of straight simplices. Let us consider the straight simplices, these vertices in X. So, okay. And okay, why is this the same? And so, if you assume that our elements here, G1, G2, G3, are elements in gamma, which is of course the back group of this covering. So, then if this G1, G2, G3 are elements of gamma, then what does this mean? This means that these points all project to the same X because they are all in gamma of it, and so, and say, for example, this sketch here is mapped to some loop representing G1 as an element of R1. The next here then represents G2 and so on. This represents so, and okay, what you see is that whenever you have a triple of elements in gamma, then this gives you some simplex defined like this in H3, and this projects to some simplex with all vertices in X and M. So this triples of elements in gamma is the same as straight simplices with vertices in X. If you consider three simplices, and for other dimensions is the same. So, and okay, and let's write it down. So here, G1, G2, G3 corresponds to the projection of the simplex with vertices and so, and of course, so here you have the homology class B3, which is defined on this complex. So here you have then the pullback, and I mean here you have of course the homology class defined by integrating So, I mean, you can integrate the volume form over synthesis, so this defines your homology class, and of course you can restrict this to this smaller complex, and I mean, of course, by definition of the volume form, we know that the volume can be computed by integrating the volume form over the fundamental class. And yeah, and okay, and so this inclusion can be shown to be a chain homology equivalent. So actually, the homology can be computed also in the smaller complex. The fundamental class has some pre-image here, and yeah, and okay, and so this is, so to say, an explicit realization of the isomorphism between homology of gamma and homology of M. In fact, this is essentially how I can claim in general for aspheric manifolds defined their isomorphism. And okay, and if you look at the definition of V3, then you see that, of course, under this correspondence here, I mean, if you apply V3 or the restriction of V3 to such a triple, what you get by definition is exactly the volume of this, what you have here on the right hand side. So this corresponds exactly to integration of the volume form. So okay, so and in the end what you get is that this isomorphism, the wall corresponds to J V3, and so this is the same as V3 applied to J M. So this is exactly the claim that we wanted to prove, which then shows that J star M determines the volume. So, okay, and having this, one can then quickly prove Rohan's theorem. Okay, Rohan's theorem, as I said, is I have these assumptions. I have some multiple extreme manifold. I cut it along the surface and reglue it by some Tor which satisfies these assumptions. And then the statement is that the volume of the glued manifold should be the same as the volume of the original manifold. So we want to show that these assumptions, volume of n is volume of n Tor, and by this observation then it suffices that to prove that these homology classes agree. J is the inclusion of pi1 and J tau is the inclusion of the empiric manifold. And okay, so So, and this can be proved by a simple logical argument, which then also shows clearly why this assumption is necessary, by the way. Okay, to prove this equality, let us embed M and tau into some larger space. So, consider X to be a union of the two along a neighborhood of sigma. I mean, of course, okay, schematically, let this be sigma and this M. So then M tau agrees with M outside of a neighborhood of sigma. So only in a neighborhood they are different. So this is M2, right? Okay, and in a neighborhood of sigma, this thing, this union looks like the mapping torus. So, and of course, one has obviously homology of X, so X is everything. Homology of X, one has the equality that the difference of format classes is just the format class of the mapping torus. So, and okay, and now, I mean, we want to prove this equality of volumes, which does not hold without any assumptions, of course. There are many counterexamples, just holds if one has this assumption from Points theorem. And how this assumption enters the proof is that if we assume this existence of some element which realizes, so to say, tau by combination, this is exactly what one needs to show that J and J tau can be extended to a representation Pi1x. So, okay, this is where the assumption goes in, and if one has this, then the rest is straightforward. Then one can just consider, so to say, the corresponding map from X to ESL to Z. Using that axis. And okay, and then one can just apply this, so one gets applying this to this quality. One gets this. and yeah, okay. So this is an quality in okay, and so to prove that these two things are equal, one has to show that this right hand side is 0, but this is not very hard to show. So okay, essentially using that towards finite order, one can go to some finite power where then this becomes just sigma cos S1, and so this mapping homology factors over the homology of sigma, but this homology of sigma of course is 0, so one can easily show that there's a 0 in homology. Actually, at this point one needs Stefan has R coefficients. Neumann has some examples where he shows that with Z coefficients this actually is not true, but with R coefficients one can easily show that this is always 0. Okay, and so then this is represented. Okay, so this was in some detail the proof for closed parabolic extreme manifolds. So then there are of course many generalizations. So the first is that the same argument without any change goes through for any closed locally symmetric space. So if instead of SL2C we had here some other Lie group, then one can run exactly the same argument and one gets that. So if one has the same assumptions now with instead of SL2Z one has the Lie group G. So if I have two locally limited spaces, they are realized by some cut and paste along some two-dimensional one surface, and if this paste map satisfies this assumption that it can be realized by conjugation by some element in the group G, then I get the corresponding locally symmetric spaces have the same volume, at least in the closed case. In the cusp case it's a bit more complicated and we don't know it in general yet. So let's go with, let's say some words about the cusp case. Between the cusp case. Okay, so what means cusp case? We have some, say, for simplicity, let's say some parabolic extreme manifold again, then of finite volume but not compact. Then of course we know that the boundary consists of tori, and somehow the ends of the manifold, the non-compact ends, they look like, so to say, cones over the tori, where of course the cone point does not belong to the manifold itself. But so okay.
What's the locally symmetric case? We're supposed to be.
What?
We're supposed to be pasting back along the codimension one surface, or what? I mean, submanifold. What are we doing in the locally symmetric case?
Yeah, okay. We are assuming that we have two locally symmetric spaces which are related by cutting and pasting along one codimension submanifold.
So they usually don't have codimension one.
Yeah. I mean, of course, this is you don't always have them. Of course, I mean, for example, one case that is always satisfied if you have some geodesic hypersurface. I mean, of course, you don't always have them, but if you have some codimension one geodesic hypersurface, then this assumption is always
Okay,
satisfied.
that's worse for higher dimensional hyperbolic, you're saying?
Yeah.
I don't know, let me see what else this one. I mean, in higher rank, the law property T, so they don't have any dimensional surfaces.
Ja, das was in Zack lehrt, das was
Oh, okay, sorry.
okay, so somehow, okay, in the end, okay, it looked like cones, so this is cone point removed, and okay, so somehow we want to do the same thing now with a relative fundamental class which lives in relative homology. So this is, as you know, so let's say if we are these two, this is the same as if you take, let's say, so you take the boundary which has some path components, and we take the cones over each path component, and okay, and then so this is so let us call Gi and the fundamental group of this boundary component. So as a subgroup of SA to Z, this consists of parabolic isometries fixing some point of infinity. And okay, again, conclusion makes this where Ki is exactly the group of parabolic isometries fixing Ci, and okay, and so okay, and then again we have the analogous lemma that now the image of the fundamental class here determines the volume of n. So and okay, this can be proved somehow by extending the volume cocycle to some other cocycle on this larger space. Again, not going into details because time is running. So okay, so one can prove that this image of the fundamental class determines the volume, and then one can of course run a similar argument as in the closed case here. There is one technical problem that one cannot exactly copy the proof of the closed case because here this so this representation rho that one gets does not map in this case the whole boundary to parabolic elements. I mean, okay, I should say here somehow in this construction I used that the boundary components are mapped to parabolic elements fixing some point at infinity. So if we look at the representation that we get here, this is not exactly true because for the boundary of the mapping torus, the fundamental group is mapped by rho to some elliptic elements, not to parabolic ones. But I mean, this is not really a serious problem because one can go to some finite cover where these elliptic elements are killed and then somehow prove this equality not for the original manifold but for the finite cover. So one gets by the same argument somehow get the volumes of some finite powers degree, but I mean, if you prove that the volumes of some finite powers degree, then also the volumes this result this also does the job in the end. Okay, so and okay, and then in the remaining time, I still want to say something that this generalizes to this argument can generalize to show that other invariants are preserved in the mutation. Okay, I want to give one example, but actually more. So, for example, I want to give this the so-called volume of flux structures, which was introduced by version 1 by EU. So somehow they want to study representations of C-manifold groups in SL3C instead of SL2C, and so what they consider is so SL3C P, where okay, P means the upper triangular matrices. So this is the set of flags in C3. Yes. L is a line in C3. P is a ring in C3. And L is contained in P. And okay, and so they consider the set of tuples and yeah, they define some invariant for this, which sort of which they call the volume of such a, I mean, I should say for probables of elements in FL, they define some volume of such a thing. So, okay, they want to define some volume of, so to say, a tetrahedron of flags of I mean, 4 points in FL you can think of as a tetrahedron with vertices in the space of flags, and they want to define a volume. So what is the idea somehow? So I mean, the idea is now analogy. If you have an ideal tetrahedron in H3, this gives you an element, so to say, in the 4 tuples in CP1. So I mean, CP1 is the ideal boundary of H3. So this tetrahedron has 4 vertices in CP1, and then one can define a cross ratio, which is an element in C1, and then one has the so-called noch Wigner Filosofen, which gives an element in R. And then it's a well-known fact that the volume of a tetrahedron is not like the logarithm of the cross ratio of the the corresponding element in the corresponding for tuple of elements in points in CP1. And so what they do is the corresponding thing, they define some generalized cross ratio, and so which is in some elements in complex numbers. I mean, actually, yeah, okay, it's more complicated. It's somehow in the group or then, but anyway, so then they apply the Bloch-Wigner kilogram, and this is what they call the volume of a tetrahedron of flats. And okay, what can man do with this? So if M is a hydraulic stream manifold, in fact any stream manifold with an ideal triangulation, and if one has some, I should have some hyperbolic. So, and if rho is some representation, now not to SL2C but to SL3C, some relative fragmentation, then one has some equivalent map from CP1 to LC, and okay, so M is triangulated, is union of some ideal tetrahedron which have the vertices in CP1. So one can they take this volume which they defined using the generalized cross ratios. And this defines an invariant which is not depending on the triangulation. And okay, so this is somehow an invariant of stream manifolds and representations of the groups into SL3Z. And okay, what one can prove? Then by a very similar argument as in the case of hyperbolic volume is this is what they call the volume of flux structures, but what one can prove using a similar argument then is then the volume of flux structures, which is this invariant, is preserved under mutation. Okay, that's just an example. There are also other invariants that one can prove by similar arguments that they are preserved in mutation, and this is what I want to tell.